Hey, what's up, my people? Coming at you today with a little something special. I've been reading this book called The Voice of Babaji. Really amazing book. And if you don't know who Babaji is, he's like the yogi of yogis in modern times. Some say he's the reincarnation of Shiva himself. Yeah, you guys can do your own research on Babaji. He's the GOAT, pretty much. But in this book, there's one excerpt that I wanted to read to everybody. Something that struck a chord with me. It's very quick, very simple, but I'm thinking we can get into it and, see how it feels in our being, digest it, and, reflect. So, without further ado, religious life does not mean the shirking of duties or avoidance of responsibilities. Everything is sacred. There is no difference between the temple and the farmyard, the cloister and the laboratory, the temple and the studio. The cell and the marketplace are equally fit places of worship. To accept life, after transcending its limitation, is the last divine sacrifice. Let me say that one again. To accept life, after transcending its limitation, is the last divine sacrifice. Life itself is religion. Therefore, worship God through suffering humanity. Now that right there is something special. Especially the line that I repeated. I'm going to repeat it again. Third time's a charm. To accept life after transcending its limitation is the last divine sacrifice. It's really a great commentary on approaching non-duality with a sense of realism. Because once you get to the realization that all is one and one is all, well, that's great, right? But I'm still here in this bodily vessel. So what am I to do as this bodily vessel? Well, just as the book says, I will worship God or the infinity, or infinite consciousness, the totality, whatever you want to call it, through suffering humanity. So through my servitude as this instrument of the divine, I will find the worship. I will find the religious life. That is powerful because, in the New Age movement today, it's all about transcending dimensions, astral projection, ascending to your higher self. It's always more and more and more. But once you get to the point of universal infinite consciousness, and all is one, literally all is one. Everything is one. All is God. This microphone is God. I am God. You are God. We are all this one never-ending flowing process. We're all just this current, just flowing through time, right? There's no separation. You might perceive some kind of separation here, but at its core, at the deepest of deep, the highest of high, we're all one flowing process. It's hard to rationalize, but there is a realization you can come to once you transcend the bodily limitation. So, right, you can transcend the bodily limitation. And you can reach certain states of ecstasy, certain states of connection. But you always seem to come back into this vessel, right? So what are we to do in this vessel with that realization in the back of our heads? We become servants to the divine. And what is the divine? It's everything. It's the earth. It's others. Every single person is divine, whether they know it or not. With that realization, you become, through your work, whatever it is, could be anything, could be cooking, could be painting, could be driving race cars, could be anything. Anything that you think you're good at, you're innately good at, in your intuition. We all know what we're here to do, how we were put here to serve. We all know deep down in our hearts. If you dive deep enough and you form a relationship with yourself with discipline, you'll find out and you'll figure out what you're good at. So our job here is to awaken to the dream state of our egos and realize that there is no essential separation. Come back down, per se, into our bodily vessel and use this bodily vessel as an instrument of God or of the divine, of infinite consciousness. We are here to serve. If you haven't realized by now, we're all here to serve. We are all servants. This is what our hands are for. This is what our brains are for. We're here to create a better version of the world that we currently live in. That's the last divine sacrifice. From the saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. I would extend that and say chop wood, carry water with that idea in the back of your head. With that realization that for me, will never leave me, that I am constantly connected. You realize that, right? You are constantly connected. No matter what situation you're in, you are constantly connected to the continuum, the divine, the infinite, whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want to call it, man. We are all connected to each other, to the earth, to the cosmos, always and forever. We always have been, we always will be, and we always are. And our job as a suffering human being, as a servant, is to work for the betterment of other suffering human beings and the world and the cosmos. At least that's how I see it. At least that's how Babaji sees it. Other than that, man, don't really got much else to say. You got to do your work, go within, focus, realize how to serve others, how to serve yourself, especially. That's the first step. And then you serve others, and then you realize others are actually yourself, and you just keep going. The play keeps going. Yeah, guys. Hope you got something from it. I highly suggest this book. That's just one small excerpt from a very very fruitful book. I'm only 75 pages in. There's about 400 pages, and I'm amazed. Babaji is the GOAT. Shout out Babaji. Namaste Babaji.